Hello fellow explorers, my name is Tony Toppy and today we're going to be discussing the planet Venus. So for starters, Venus is the second planet from the Sun, which is the next furthest away from the Sun aside from Mercury. It's also Earth's closest planetary neighbor. Now Venus is known as an inferior conjunction planet, and what this means is that it sits right between the Earth and the Sun. So another inferior planet would also be known as Mercury. Now in this video to my right, it's actually going to show you just how fast Venus orbits around the Sun. For every 8 times the Earth orbits the Sun, Venus will orbit the Sun about 13 times. So really fast. Size-wise, Venus has a radius of about 3,760 miles. In fact, Venus is very similar in size to Earth, although it's slightly smaller, as you can see from the image here on your right. Now in this video, you're going to be able to appreciate the size of Venus while being able to compare it to other planets. So Venus is going to be the next planet to the left of Earth, and these planets here are the bigger ones in our solar system, which is Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune. Venus has a metallic iron core in the very center that's 2,000 miles in radius. Above the core sits the rocky mantle. Now this rocky mantle is made up of hot rock that's slowly churning due to the interior heat. Next is the crust or the surface. Now the crust of Venus is pretty thin and rocky, and it's going to move as Venus's mantle shifts. Next is the atmosphere. Venus's atmosphere is comprised of mostly carbon dioxide with a little bit of nitrogen. And lastly, towards the outer layer of the atmosphere, you're going to find sulfuric acid in the cloud layers. And this really does contribute to the haziness that takes place on the surface of Venus. So Venus has a very thick atmosphere that will trap heat in a runaway greenhouse effect, which makes it the hottest planet in our solar system. The atmosphere is so thick and heavy that the NASA website stated it would feel as if you were standing 1 mile deep underwater if you were to walk on the surface. On the surface of Venus, you'll see that it's going to be covered in craters, and if you were to look at this photo here, it's going to be very reminiscent of how an hazy, overcast type of day would be here on Earth. Now in this video, towards the right hand side of the screen, let me go ahead and fast forward it by a minute. This is going to show you a simulation of how the terrain is on Venus. Here it's showing you some of the dormant volcanoes, and as we kind of move along in the video, these are the simulation of the deep channels that are within the surface of Venus as well. So I found it very fascinating that Venus is the second brightest object in the night sky, coming after the moon, and the third brightest object in the sky, period, after the sun and the moon. Now this is because sunlight is very easily reflected off of the acidic clouds in the Venus's atmosphere. I thought this was really impressive considering the planet is a little bit smaller than Earth is. Another interesting related fact is that Venus isn't actually considered the most reflective body in our solar system, as that title would go to Enceladus, which is a moon of Saturn. So should we keep researching Venus? Personally, I say yes. Now the reason as to why I say yes is because that scientists have discovered that there are no other adjacent planets in the entire galaxy that share such similarities as Venus and Earth share. So there's this huge question as to why or how Venus had lost its habitability while Earth did not. And I think by understanding more of how this came to be would enlighten us to learn a little bit more about issues here on Earth, like the greenhouse effects and possibly even more about climate change. Here are the references that I used for the presentation. Thank you so much for watching.